attention for a few minutes, please.
Right, lads.
This will be very much off the cuff, but first of all, delighted to see so many former teammates and colleagues here tonight. Before we start off this night of nostalgia, Mostrim Albion, I just want us to remember and hold a brief silence for those of us who can't be here tonight because they've passed through their eternal rest. Our club founder Robbie Diamond, players Kevin Hughes, Paul Reynolds, Seamus and John Smith, John Doherty and Mickey McGrath. Now if I've left anybody else out, I sincerely apologise, and we just hold a brief period of silence in their memory. Thank you. They were lads and teammates who left an indelible mark on the history of our club. This night of nostalgia, sorry we've left it so long, it's something we've talked about on numerous occasions when I've met with Rocky, Barkley, people like that, and eventually we've got round to it. So sorry it's taken so long. Mostrim Albion was founded in 1979, a dream of Robbie Diamond, and that's why we had the name Albion, because Robbie's club was West Bromwich Albion, and afterwards we'll allude to the fact that we actually wore their away colours as the second strip we got, and that was kindly sponsored by Noel Green, and we'll come back to that in a little while. We're a team that grew up together. We started out as young lads. We've lifelong friendships as a result of it. A lot of the lads would have played in Dockery's League and stuff like that, and progressed from that. The club was founded in 1979, as we said. We were looking for a ground initially, and we looked at various places, and we eventually plumped for the ground nearest the town, C&D. We struggled in the early stages trying to get the required width and length because it was quite a tight pitch and all that, and the bottom part of that pitch was, well, if you dived in it you might be found on Tuesday, but we managed to mark the pitch out. Great credit throughout that time would have to go to people like Wally Flood and wherever like that, and Wally invented the Wally wagon, and the Wally wagon was for marking the pitch when we switched from an era when we couldn't just put dry lime down anymore or whatever like that. So often myself and Wally and my brother Dermot would be out there early from a match day morning marking the pitch and getting it ready and making it look good. And in the early days as well, the only one with a ride-on mower in Edgerton was Phil Donoghue. And we used to borrow the mower and mow the pitch and try and make it look good. And the bottom part of the pitch still didn't look good, so we used to regularly bring in sawdust and try and make it look half playable or whatever like that. We also had saggy crossbars and all that, which was great for me because I was only 5'9" and I was standing in muck, so it kind of helped. The club roll of honour. When we started in 1979, my memories of the early days, we had plenty of very good footballers, but we struggled to score goals. And when the Clabby Cup was mooted as a big soccer competition taken off in Longford in 1980, that was my fear. My personal memory was, well, we've good lads and good players and all that, but we struggled to score goals. But happily, by the time that came around, we kind of rectified that problem, and we were fortunate enough to be the inaugural winners of the Clabby Cup after a replay in 1980. Christy Kennedy scoring the winner in a replay after a 2-2 draw in the first game. And my abiding memory of the first game was we tugged out behind the old Longford Town building on Lower Main Street, and we marched up the Battery Road behind the Longford Pipe Band. And this was kind of unheard of at the time or whatever like that, but the game itself was quite a, shall we say, an abrasive affair, and there was 3 players sent off. Now I actually forgot about that, Rocky told me recently there was 3 sent off, and I don't think he was one of them, but that was unusual. And in the replay, we drafted in Jerry Madden and Christy Kennedy, and Christy got the winner in that. So we're the first winners of the Clabby Cup. Now we're actually honoured and delighted to have the Clabby Cup here with us tonight. Rocky sourced it, and we spoke to various people in Longford, and we eventually realised that Zach Hackett had it, and he kindly let us have it for tonight. And we've adorned it with the ribbons of the various strips that we wore over the years. When we started the club, Robbie Diamond bought the first kit, and it was predominantly blue kit with red, and we played in that for a couple of years until we got our second strip shortly before our second Clabby Cup win, which was in 1982, and Noel Green of then Green's Jeans Limited sponsored that kit, and that was a personal favourite kit of mine. I loved it, and I'd love to see that West Brom are actually wearing that as their second kit again now. It's just, it brings back so many memories when you see it on TV or whatever like that. And then a couple of years later, Aidan Mullihan of Mullihan Express sponsored a couple of red kits for us or whatever like that. But it was always going to be Mostrim Albion, because that was Robbie's dream, that it wasn't going to be Mostrim United or Mostrim anything else, it was going to be Mostrim Albion. And in that time, I said, we won 2 Clabby Cups. In 1980, Clabby Cup, we were beaten in the 81 final, 3-2 by Harper's. Zach Hackett inspired Harper's, 3-2, and in 82, we swept all before us, and we beat an All Blacks team 3-0 in the final. Now, what was noted in one of the later reports, and as I said, I've struggled to find archive information over the years, and I thank John McGurr for a lot of the stuff he's come up with as well. Trying to find footage, trying to find pictures, trying to find whatever was quite difficult. But we found bits and pieces, and one of the things the Longford leader said at the time was it was so refreshing to see a team like Mostrim relying on all local talent in order to achieve their great dream. And any of us who played in the Clabby Cup at the time, it got very competitive as the years went by, and a lot of the pub teams in Longford were bringing in players from Athlone, Mullingar and whatever like that. But Mostrim Albion were a hard team to beat, because we were together, we were all good footballers, we were all good friends as well. At that time as well, there was a cup called the Healy Cup. We won that in 1981. We were again 2-0 down against Cavan Town in that game. We come back and won 3-2. That's the game I bailed Rocky out twice in. We were also Longford Area League champions in season 82-83 and 83-84. Now around that time, our great rivals were Ratone United, Cavan Town, Mobile, teams like that. And we ding down battles with them, and especially our second season we won it. We came from miles behind to win it, because we were involved in so many cup competitions and whatever like that. And one thing that struck me when I started researching all this was we had so many very, very talented footballers, but we played on so many bad pitches, and our own pitch at home wasn't a great pitch or whatever. You went away to Cavan Town, you played on mucky pitches, you went to Mohill, you went to Drumsna, whatever like that. So I always reckon when we got onto better pitches, even though we were playing teams, leagues above us, we were better players. And we got the better surface we were able to beat. And that's why I believe we went as far as we did in some of the cup competitions. And we were punching way above our weight or whatever like that. So especially in the second season we won it, we were miles behind in terms of games played. And we won our last 7 games to win it, whatever. As I said earlier, Clabby Cup has pride of place here tonight. As I said, it was something that was very dear to us or whatever. If you notice the lid of the Clabby Cup, it's a little bit like Ballinalack to one side or whatever. I remember that one of the first year we won it, myself, John Gaynor, Tommy and Jerry McGuinness took it to the Fair Green for wrestling after closing time, and the lid got kind of bent. So that's a story for a different day. As I said, the ribbons on the cup refer to the various strips we wore over the years. Now I invited a few people here tonight from Longford Town. I invited Donald Keogh. Now Donald Keogh is delayed. He's messaged me to say he's trying to get here. I also invited Paddy Nolan, who was the most prominent referee in Longford over the years, and the only referee to book me for kissing someone. Yes. So, I still reckon one of the boys put him up to it, but there was a game against Keena and we were winning 7-0 and I was in the top goals, bored shitless, doing nothing, and the person I was going out with at the time said, I'm going uptown, I'll see you later, so I thought the gentlemanly thing to do was kiss her goodbye or whatever like that, but Paddy ran the length of the pitch and booked me. And I says, Paddy, what's that for? He said, his ungentlemanly conduct. And I said, on the contrary, Paddy has been a perfect gentleman. So I'm not sure it was a Bartley or Tommy or whoever put him up to it, but the jury's out on them. Well, I'm on to players anyway. I said, not just players, these are lifelong friends and always will be. As I said earlier, Bartley McGovern, the only player that could play on a mucky pitch and come off clean. Rocky, who was booked by every referee in the Junior League. I couldn't believe tonight that Rocky told me here that he would become a referee, and I said, poacher turned gamekeeper, I've ever heard it. Remiss me not to mention outstanding centre halves we had at the time. Kevin Hughes, Lord rest him, Joe McEnroe, Colin McGarr, Wally Flood, as I mentioned earlier. Great lads to have in front of you. If you let a goal in, I always remember with Kevin Hughes, if I let us off and I didn't let in that often, by the way. One or two of the lads would turn around and say, for F's sake, what are you doing? Kevin would just look at you. And that would actually affect you more than the lads telling you about it. In midfield, we had such fabulous players, not just in the soccer code, but whatever. Mickey O'Hara, Tommy McGuinness, Tommy Gallagher, Tony Garvey. Tony could beat a player, you could go for a game of chess where you wait for Tony to cross the ball because he beat him again and again to make sure he had it done. Then when he went up front, in the early years, you had John Gaynor, you had and then Jerry McGuinness. Sorry, Jerry can't be with us. Jerry's in Canada. Micheál Reynolds played with us. Micheál's in Australia. I hope that this might eventually make it back to them or whatever. Sean Logan, Fox in the Box, there ever was one. And Paul Reynolds. Again, very departed Paul Reynolds, an absolutely outstanding footballer. And one of the seasons I noted when I was researching this, Paul scored 41 goals. That was unbelievable, considering like the pitches we played on or whatever like that. I always remember Paul being scouted by the Leinster League or something like that, and he got wind that there was a scout down, and we played a game, we won 2-1, and Paul was basically crap or whatever. The following week we played Longford Town B, and Longford had asked us for a challenge, and they turned out to play 6 of the team that would play in the League of Ireland for the very first time the next week. We beat them 6-0, and Paul scored 6 of them. So that was a testament of the player he was. He was just exceptional. And as I said earlier, I always reckoned that we were much better than a lot of the teams in higher leagues. We played on inferior pitches, and we all went through. We went off on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever. We played the game. We tugged out in our car, going through the history of the club and trying to piece together bits and pieces. But why the club sort of started to split up and fade away. And I noted a few things. You had exceptional GAA talent like Mickey O'Hara, Tommy Gallagher, Liam Tierney, Kevin Hughes, who were heavily involved in the county that time, and they were also the backbone of our team. You had Rocky and Joe McEnroe, who got free transfers to Rathone. They tell us that they carried Rathone to a league title after that or whatever. But, you had Bartley McGovern who went to America in 1985, followed by Tommy McGuinness, like a bad smell in 1986. So the backbone of the team was going and had gone, although the club carried on to 1988. We've tried to piece together as much of the history of the club as we possibly can. As I said, John McGarr has done great research. I've nearly lived in the library for the last 2 weeks trying to find stuff to the Longford Leader and Longford News or whatever. I would need to do that because, well, this is a night that's a long time coming. We might do it again. We might try and get more information and stuff together or whatever. I'd like to acknowledge, as I said, our sponsors. As I said, when we started off, Robbie Diamond bought the first kit. That was on him. And Noel Green of Green's Jeans Limited at the time sponsored our iconic yellow and green strip, which is an all-time favourite. I'd like to just ask Noel to say a few words.
Okay, thanks very much, Seamus. I couldn't help but wonder as I was just sitting there, if Seamus got a yellow card for a snog, I was just wondering what would he have had to do to get a red card?
She gave me that sometime later.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief. Just first of all to say, I know at the time when Wally and Seamus and Rocky or whoever asked me to become a sponsor of the team, I was delighted to do it, or to be in a position to do it at the time. And when I say at the time, when we were reminiscing here tonight, I'm thinking back to, believe it or not now, what was 40 years ago, 1979. Edgerstown then was a wonderful place to live in.
Correct.
You know, every business in the town was doing exceptionally well. We had 10 or 12 pubs here in town that said we're all doing extremely well. The Mart was up and running on a Monday night, and it used to, you remember, it used to be packed right through until 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Bingo was being run in the Auburn Hall. Again, every Monday night it was packed out, and various other events going on in the Auburn Hall. We had badminton at the time. We had a lot of things happening in Edgeworthstown at that time. It was a great place to be, and as well at that time, as you have heard from Seamus, we had a number, an abundance, I would say, of wonderful, I wouldn't call them footballers, I would call them sportsmen. And I suppose testament to that in Gaelic terms is the fact that Tommy and Kevin and Mickey and went on to do great things with the county team, and indeed Liam as well. And Liam, I suppose, went even further than that and represented Longford in the international rules. But really he was representing our parish here as well. So, as I say, it was a great honour to be involved. I knew, I suppose, the only way I was going to have an involvement with the team was as a sponsor, because I was fairly sure that I was never really going to make it as a player. But however, Winetown, which was another rival club just a couple of miles up the road, they could see my potential, and for a sizable fee, I transferred to and played games, many's a game, with Winetown. Now, is Wally still here? He is. All right, on the corner. Now, I played one game against Mostrim Albion, as it happens. Winetown, obviously, were very stuck that day. As usual, I made the 11th member of the squad, and I remember there was a high ball coming in between myself and Wally. Now, neither of us were very light on our feet, but I have to say, Wally was that little bit lighter than me. So, as Wally was on his way down from heading the ball, I was on my way up to head the ball. And I connected with Wally in the chin, and I think he never forgave me. I don't know whether he lost teeth as a result of that. Just, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking of Wally, and nobody has asked me to do this or to mention this, but I know he's had a surgery, a major surgery during the week, and obviously we wish him very well with that. But Wally would have been instrumental at that time in setting up Mostrim Albion. I know he had a lot to do with it anyway. And at that time as well, Wally was playing with Edgeworthstown GEA. He was on the verge of being on the senior team, and he was certainly a regular on any other Edgeworthstown teams, be it junior and intermediate. And he was also playing rugby with Longford Town. Now, I think that Wally, he never was going to win an All-Star maybe, but he was a great sportsman, a great advocate for sport here in the town, and I think great credit should go to him for what he has done for all sports, and he was a great sportsman. That's, I think, about all I have to say. Jimmy McGuinness, who's obviously a good buddy of mine, better buddy of Tommy's, of course. He was supposed to be here tonight, and unfortunately, he just couldn't make it. But
his curfew was from 8 o'clock.
His curfew was from 8 onwards. I know that there were a couple of funny incidents with Jimmy. Again, he was involved as a selector, and I suppose Wally and John Gaynor would have been the other ones at the time, and they would have both been involved as players. So on number of occasions, Jimmy was left as the sole selector on the sideline. And on a couple of occasions, but on one occasion in particular, he was the only one left on the sideline. And Paddy Nolan has already been mentioned here, but seemingly Jimmy's attitude towards the ref on that particular day wasn't as it should be. And the ref, Paddy Nolan, asked him not if he would leave the sideline, but he asked him to actually leave the pitch. And Jimmy had to go out on the main Dublin road and shout the instructions in across the hedge to the guys in the building. So look, that's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you very much. It was great to be associated with the time. It's great to see everybody back here. It's hard to believe that it's 40 years, and it's great that we are here. And I'd like to join, I suppose, with Seamus in regretting the fact that there are 5 or 6 people not here with us tonight who had a great influence over this club, the Mostrim Albion, and I suppose I can say as well had a great influence with the GEA here in Edgeworthstown and indeed in Longford as well. Okay, so thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you very much for those words. Just before I wrap up, I just want to acknowledge, I'm saying this personally, but it's on behalf of all the players, our sincere thanks to Robbie Diamond, Wally Flood and John Gaynor for all the work, the hard work they did over the years, keeping us together, picking the teams, keeping us all together, and for all the success we had. We'll always be eternally grateful for that. One thing I meant to mention earlier was, like, while we were all young up-and-coming footballers, we were also heavily involved in the GAA, and we probably were the fittest lads on the GAA team because we played throughout the winter, and we kind of had a little bit of a running battle with the GAA in that they didn't like us playing the foreign game or whatever, and we persisted in playing it anyway. And there was one famous occasion where we got to the quarter-final of a cup competition up in somewhere in Laois or Offaly or something like that, and it was 11 o'clock on the Sunday morning. We were due to play Cashel in the Leader Cup at 4 o'clock in Cashel, so we went ahead and played it anyway. And there was 6 of us, and when we got to Cashel, we were first there. We had the yellow and green kit on us, bar the jerseys, and the 6 of us were dropped. So that just shows possibly maybe. Thanks, Johnny, if you're still awake. Thanks. I also want to acknowledge over certainly the early years, we had phenomenal support from the local community, and as we progressed in the various competitions, be it away up in Leinster playing games, or even out at our local pitch, or certainly in Abbeycarton, we had phenomenal support from the local community, and we always appreciate that. we will appreciate it at the time, and it would be remiss of me not to mention it. We had a great local following. I want to thank Rocky, John McGarr, Tony Garvey for the work they've done in trying to get information together, trying to go through stuff. As I said, we're in an era now where there's nearly too much recorded, there's nearly too much photographed. We were out in an era where if someone had a camera, they were lucky or whatever like that. We only got our photograph taken if we got to a final. But thanks to everybody for all the effort they put in doing it. Thanks to Jerry and his staff here tonight for hosting us. And again, Jerry was one of our players for a number of years as well. So thanks everybody. Just as we finish up, we've football been doing the rounds there. If you've played with Mostrim Albion, even one game, 100 games, make sure your name is on it. We're going to raffle it. We're going to raffle the jersey there behind Eamon Riley as well. And all the money will go to charity. I just noticed the sign here where I've been wafting away, and I want to thank Brendan Doherty for organising that for us. It's just brilliant. Cheers. Guys, enjoy the rest of the night.
Don't kiss him,
Rocky tells me there's a bus going to the Fountain Blue at half 12. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the night.
Will I sit down or will I stand up? No, as the boys were saying, we're on the league campaign. I think we're playing in Clones. On the way back, of course, we went to Brady's and Donovan. And of course, as the night progressed, you know how it turned out. Everybody was in great form going home. So we ended up in going to Granard. I think it was in Mars Bar in Granard. And of course, there was late even there. So Jerry McGinnis said he'd organised to get a lift home. So we got this guy. This guy that Jerry knew, and he said he'd bring us home. Brilliant. It was about 5 minutes is all. It wasn't that many. In the car, Jerry got in the front of the car, and he said to your man, he said, see you in Noel, he said, I'll give you 5 really nervous home in Edgeworthstown. And your man says, yes, he said, that'd be brilliant. That'd be brilliant. So he was the lane to get the fiver. Jerry put the fiver in the front of the car, headed to Edgeworthstown, great Jerry chatted him the whole way until we got to Edgeworthstown. We got to the park house. And your man stopped the car, all over the car. Jerry got out, said thanks very much, got back. I took down the car, addressed what Jerry doing, your man was gone. He said, oh, your fiver. Your man was gone, Jerry had the fiver still with him. So that was Jerry McGinnis for you. Some character we had him here tonight. So we had a great whole time. Great times.
And the full story now.
Can't tell you anymore.